We are facing this inevitable challenge right now, and we are calling it an AI mandate. You might have heard that in the media as well. What does that mean? That means that all the executives in every single company are telling their different departments, including IT, of course, that they have to start using AI to try and achieve some level of improvement, whether it's productivity, efficiency, cost savings, and so on. Where that impacts us more directly in the software development and testing space is obviously as those mandates kick in. Many of our customers, some of you guys that are here in the session, have been telling us, how can you, Catalan, help us um, essentially accelerate our testing so that we can keep up with this incredible increase in the volume of code that's being produced by the development organization that is heavily relying on AI to help them generate code. And you might think that the companies that are doing more of that are mostly in the tech space, but no, like many of your companies right here that we are working with, as well as banking financial services from the slide here, are publicly sharing that they are developing more and more with AI. Now, that is awesome, and we want to see more of that, but obviously that presents a challenge and an opportunity for us in the software quality space. What one thing that has become clear already in these early stages is that if we keep testing the applications the way we've always tested them, it's hard to combat the increase in volume and speed of the software developers now. And if we don't make any changes to the way we test, in terms of process, approach, and tooling, it will eventually releases will come to a full stop. And we're seeing some of that already happen with very publicly available news of issues that are in bugs and defects that have been damaging different brands, that have been impacting revenue. Customers are complaining, are leaving those organizations or those brands. So obviously, if you keep pushing through this with traditional testing or the typical ways that you have always done testing, it will not end well. And this is something that is not me saying; it's we're seeing results out there as well. And many of you guys here on the call have become our customers because you were feeling that pain and wanted to essentially address that. But to address that, there are three critical challenges that we need to think about. The first one being the speed of the release is something really key, especially with AI today. Everybody wants to try new ideas, to try new concepts, new features, and put those in the hands of their users as quickly as possible. But if testing is being done in the traditional sense, it essentially slows down the release. The other challenge is quality. It's very hard to increase your coverage when you have code being pumped by both AI and humans together. If you try to tackle that in the same way you've always done, then obviously it's extremely hard to increase coverage, and we're seeing a fact that actually coverage decreases because it's impossible to keep up with that increased amount of volume. And finally, cost. Many organizations have tried to basically, all right, let's increase the size of the team, but that's not feasible for most organizations because it's increasing the cost without actually having a proper justification is not something realistic. So these three challenges are really kind of getting everybody stuck, and getting out of it is not easy. So the typical solution that you would think for addressing these very three challenges is automation. That's how we've always attacked these, right? With automation, you can release faster, you can increase your coverage, and you can reduce the cost. So there is a problem that with automation in the way we've always thought about, which is we feel that automation, when it was first promised, when it first came out, that first wave of automation that enabled us to start testing faster. The promise was that we were going to do, 80% of the tests in an automated fashion and keep that 20% for exploratory, uh, negative scenarios, edge cases, and so on, which need to be that way. But what we see is that over the past couple of decades, automation has always hit this sort of, we're calling it productivity ceiling, because people get stuck in the 20 to 40% range of automation. Some organizations very rarely can get past the 50%, get to 60%. The super hyper mature ones can get to that level. But the cost of increasing that coverage is really, really high, because essentially the more you automate, the more you have to maintain. And then obviously you have strategies and tooling that minimizes or make automation more seamless, like our own Catalan studio. However, there's this ceiling that for you to keep, to break through that, you gotta basically increase the size of the team. And with the AI age that we're living in, and it's just not possible to do that anymore. We need to work more intelligently and really change that dynamic. And yeah, so and then the way to really break through that productivity ceiling is being enabled right now by the second wave that we see in terms of automation, which is the AI augmented testing wave. This is finally, and we're seeing results already, and we'll talk about some of those today. This is finally enabling organizations to break through that productivity ceiling and finally achieve those levels of automation that have been promised from the beginning, where you have the vast majority of testing being done in an automated fashion, and the 20-ish% of testing being done still in a manual fashion, because those are the exploratory testing scenarios. Those are the negative scenarios, edge cases, and so on, that really require that human intuition, that human SME knowledge on the business and the context and all that, that are still required. And how are we preparing our customers for that new world with AI? Well, we're looking at the entire testing life cycle, and we are very intentionally infusing AI into different parts of those workflows. So if you think of a tester, a test lead, a test manager, a test automation engineer, and so on, um, there are the activities that those professionals do every single day. We've found that instead of giving them tools or capabilities that are looked at as a black box, something comes in on one side and then a magical output comes out the other side. Those are not the quality of that is never the way people expect. So the productivity actually comes down, and we've seen that in the first 2 years of that we released in beta, TrueTest, for example. So infusing AI in every single piece of the different workflows for those different professionals seems to be the key, and we're seeing results of that, where little by little, each professional, let's say a tester, sees the compounding effect of those small iterative improvements in their workflow. By the end of the workflow, they have tremendous increase in productivity, efficiency, and so on. And TrueTest is really the flagship product powered by AI at Catalan. It's the only AI native solution that eliminates the guesswork by generating and maintaining tasks directly from real users and agentic traffic. So let me tell you a real quick story I just learned before we started the webinar. Our team was telling us that 10 registrations for this webinar were performed through ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT agents. So this was something that was the first time for us that we actually experienced and saw that, and we identified that those registrations coming from an AI agent, from ChatGPT in this case. Now, think about what some of you guys on the call here are already telling that is happening in your own companies. We're seeing this in the market as well, where you have now humans navigating the applications. Think of an e-commerce site, and any other public-facing site, like you're looking for a flight or you're trying to buy a product. you now have human users and AI agents going through those sites trying to accomplish a goal. Book a ticket, buy a product, register in a webinar like like us here. Um, so as you think that's going to happen more and more, how do you think those AI agents behave in when they're trying to book a flight, for example? They don't behave the same way as real users, and we've seen that. TrueTest is seeing that today. So the way you are testing your application today is for humans, is expecting users to use it. But how about the AI agents? How prepared is your site to help AI agents fulfill their tasks or accomplish their goals? You don't have a way to see that, to gauge that. And TrueTest is enabling organizations to see the traffic from both real users and AI agents, and effectively test the same way as real users and AI agents are using the application to make sure that you don't run into this issue as to, oh, I've tested all the requirements and it's everything, awesome, but still real users or AI agents are running into issues in production because we're testing differently from how people are or how agents are using. So just think about that. And I thought this was a great example. It happened just before that we joined the webinar. But TrueTest, it accelerates automation from manual testing. It eliminates that maintenance that keeps killing the ROI of any automation endeavor. And it also expands the test coverage with real life usage data, whether it's from human users or AI agents as users. So this is TrueTest. And it has different use cases. The first one in, let's say, in pre-production, it basically helps you achieve in sprint test automation. So as you are doing your regular testing, as your developers are doing their regular testing, and the build is available for you to test as well, all those activities that you are doing to validate that new build, as well as the developer or even the product owner might have done on the same day to validate the build. TrueTest is essentially capturing all that and automatically generating automated tests that can be run in the same day that the build landed in the environment. So effectively, next time you need to run that test inside the sprint, maybe the same later in the same day or just on demand as you have new builds, that test now is running in an automated fashion. And the second one in pre-production is many of our customers, many of you guys here, have been doing automation in with different tools, different frameworks, and for different reasons, you have decided to move away from, let's say, Selenium or Cypress or Playwright or other commercial tools. Um, and with TrueTest, it essentially, as you are running those automated tests in your own framework, it's basically following the same process as before. Seeing all those automated test interactions with the browser, with the UI elements in the browsers, and it's capturing all that. At the end of that automated execution of the other framework, TrueTest converted all those tests into Katalon Studio tests that can be run in an automated fashion as well. So migration becomes seamless. You don't have to change anything on the old script. You don't have to instrument anything on the old script. It's completely seamless, just like the first use case. Now, if we move to production, that's really the golden use case, if you will, for TrueTest, where it's seeing and capturing all those interactions from human users and AI agent users that I mentioned earlier, and essentially showing you all that in a very uh, and you see that today in a very awesome user journey map so that you understand, all right, here are all the different flows that the users are doing in the application. So how do I compare that to the way we are testing it? And by seeing those different ways that the way you're testing, the way users are using the app, TrueTest can bridge the gap very easily to in order to make sure that you are covering not only your requirements but covering also the way users, humans or AI agents, are navigating through production. So really different use cases for different needs, but the way or the foundation technology is really the same. So this is really exciting because it's helping our customers both shift left, with in-sprint test automation, in testing it, just in testing from requirements, but also shifting right and making sure that they're testing exactly how their users are using the application and bringing that full 360-degree test coverage perspective. But how does it work? Yeah, I'm sure it sounds awesome, but essentially it captures the true user interactions with the application as we're navigating the applications. It will capture all that seamlessly. There's no button to click record or to stop recording. Like, it's completely seamless, as Mai will show you today. It generates the user journey map, to show you, hey, here's everything that people are doing in that environment, whether it's production or pre-production environments. And then it will generate and maintain the tasks in artifact. So generating tasks is pretty simple, but the key here is maintaining, right? Because maintenance is really the hard part of automation, and making sure that as there is the new build, that the tasks that touched on the changed flows continue to work seamlessly without you having to spend time troubleshooting and all that you might do today. And then it also helps you bridge that gap, identify if there's any gap between how you test and how people actually use, and then bridge that gap seamlessly, automatically, to make sure that you have that full level of coverage that I talked about earlier. Okay. All right. Um, let me pass it over to Mai. If you have any questions from what we went through, just feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. Mai will get set up here to start diving into TrueTest, and then we'll have some more Q&A. So let me stop sharing here, Mai, and then you can take it away.
Sure. Thank you so much, Alex. Let me share my screen.
I believe I have to give you permission. Let me. Okay, never mind. You can say it then.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We can see the case cell phone shop.
I have a very wide screen in case you are curious. Okay, hello everyone. I'm very excited to be here to talk to you about like how TrueTest works, what it does to help you with testing. So let's talk about our application under test first. So we have a very simple demo website, which is a cell phone e-commerce website. So it has very basic like functionalities. You can browse for a product, you can select the options and add to basket and complete the checkout process. Okay, we have two development environments. One is production and this one is staging. They are identical in regarding of code base, and we recorded some activities on those environments using TrueTest. And you can just like interact with those buttons or those elements without having to fresh like record button or stop recording button, as Alex mentioned earlier. So as a tester of this website, I kind of thought about the ways that I wanted to test the system, right? So this is an e-commerce website. It is very simple. So I was thinking of like having around some test cases regarding first about the checkout process, like view a product, add it to basket and complete the checkout process. And then maybe adding multiple products into the basket and complete the checkout process, and maybe search for products, right? So those were my test cases. So I used TrueTest to record my testing activities on the cell phone staging app. Like this is my staging environment. And it helped me to generate a user journey map. So this is something that you see as a user journey map. So if it is the first time you see it, the user journey map is a visual representation of the application under test. So each node here represents one page of the application. You can see the name, you can see the URL, and the edges like linking from one node to the others are the actions that the user took to go from one page to another. And the size of the nodes and the size of the edges indicate the volume of traffic. Like the more people went into those pages and interacted with those the elements on those pages, the thicker the light and the thicker the note. In my use case here, I'm testing it in like a production environment, so the traffic doesn't matter that much. And then in the left-hand side, you will see the list of the flows. The flows here are the unique usage patterns from all the user sessions that capture on that environment. So for example, I can go into the website and I can view one iPhone, right? And then I buy one iPhone, and then I go to the website, I view Samsung, and I buy that Samsung. Even though like those are the two products, but they are basically the same flow, the checkout flow for one product. So the system will recognize just one single flow for those two user sessions. So the flows here, you can see the details of the flows, like then the flow name, the short description about what it does, the traffic category indicating the volume of like user sessions that going through the same usage pattern on that environment. And then you can see all the detailed test steps here. When clicking on the flow, it will be highlighted on the user journey map as well, so you know exactly what pages or actions that the flow interacted with. And you can see here, I have my filter or search for mobile phone by price range. Maybe like, for example, I go to the home page, I go to the phone category, and then I search for certain price range, like price mean and price max, and then search button, right? So those are the steps that I performed during my testing on staging environment. And you can see here, this is a commit purchase of mobile phone with checkout process. You can see here, I went to the home page, I selected a product and view product detail page, and then added to cart and complete the checkout process. And then similarly to the other ones. There is something interesting about TrueTest is that for each user session, you can see here, there are some session attributes. So as a development team of this application, I can set certain attributes of the user session to indicate the type of user, for example. So I want to differentiate the flows between like the login user and non-login user. So I can just like add an attribute to that user section. And then later on, you can filter the flows or filter the data based on those user sessions. So imagine that you can like create a map based on some user roles of your application. So if you have like a login user, you have an administrator user profile, you can certainly create maps to highlight all the behaviors of those user roles. And for each flow, you can search by certain attributes. For example, the traffic volume. Like I mentioned, it is particularly useful for production environment when you can know the most popular traffic flows on production. And then for the other like top flow, similar thing, but you can like filter by the top percentage of the most popular flow as well. So after I review the flows and I'm happy with those, I generated test cases, like automated test cases. And the test cases would be part of a Katalon Studio project, and it would be committed and pushed into a Git repository. And then my automation tester can check out from that Git repository and open the test cases in Katalon Studio. I will open and show you Katalon Studio. Let me know
Mike,
in Katalon Studio.
yeah, some folks are asking if you can zoom in your screen a little bit.
Okay, this screen or the other screen?
But it was when we were looking at TrueTest, but I think both, if you can.
Okay, thank you. So I hope that the text here is clearer. I cannot zoom in here. So sorry about that. So, but when TrueTest generates objects and test cases, and it add those into like Katalon Studio project, those elements, those artifacts are stored under AI generated folder, right? And for the object, you can see that it has 4 locators created automatically. The default locator is Smart Locator, and then you have like XPath, attributes, and CSS. So you can configure TrueTest to use Smart Locator as your default locator, or you can configure it to use any other ones. For each test case, let me see. when you look into the script, you will see exactly all the steps that it performed, following the user flow steps there, but it is in the like Ruby script. And all the inputs would be bound to the test case variables. Sorry, I cannot zoom in here, but you will see all the names of all the inputs and the values as well. And if the test cases share common steps, like for checkout, you need to enter like your email and your shipping addresses. Then those steps would be grouped together in common functions so that the test cases would be sharing the same common function. For example, in this case, you can see here there is complete checkout process function. It grouped all the common steps in the checkout process across the flows related to checkout, and all the test cases that require the checkout flow would be calling this function. Yeah, so those kind of the basic features that generated by TrueTest for like Katalon TrueTest scripts. And you can see here all the variables here are about at like default value for the test cases, but there is an option that you can configure TrueTest to buy those values in an Excel spreadsheet so that you can like run those test cases from like a data-driven approach. And the related resources, like for example, the URL would be captured in the profiles. So you can run the same test cases on different profiles with different environment link, for example. And the objects, if they share common attributes, for example, like a link to a product, it could be a link to an iPhone, or it could be a link to a Samsung phone, but those are basically product objects, links. Those would be recognized by the system as dynamic objects, and it will create the dynamic objects and store under the dynamic objects folder. When the test cases are executed and your application is progressing, if small changes introduced to the object level, meaning that maybe the position of the objects are shifted just a little bit, the system would be recognizing those minor changes and automatically update the locators of related objects. That is how TrueTest maintains those test cases and objects. Let's get back to the view of test ops. I will try to enlarge it a little bit. I hope it is clearer now. All right. So this is my map on the staging environment. Like it highlights all the testing activities that I did on the staging environment. And I felt pretty good about it because I covered the main checkout flow and everything, right? And the search page. So I feel good about it. But I also instrumented TrueTest as part of the production environment. And I'm curious to learn like what is the difference between how the user are using our system versus how I test my system. So I created another map from the production data, right? And I will just zoom it in so that you can have a better view. Okay. So at the first glance, I can see that it captured like home, product category, product detail page, cart, checkout info, shipping address, checkout payment, and thank you. Those pages I tested well. So I covered those pages in my testing. But also I noticed that there was an about page that I didn't do any testing for it. And it identified like 4 user flows. This one went from homepage directly to cart to checkout, and I feel like I didn't test this flow, but I'm not so sure. And then there is another one also completed the checkout process. I think I covered this flow. And then view about page, obviously I didn't test the about page, so that was not covered. And then there is another checkout as well. So I kind of have a brief idea about the gaps, but I'm not so sure if that is the only thing missing, right? So there is a feature of TrueTest that is called the gap analysis. So let me try to analyze the coverage gap between like production uses versus my testing. So I'm interested in learning like what people are using on production that is not covered on my staging, my testing environment. So the system will highlight the exact gaps that what was missing from production that not being tested on my staging environment. So it highlights the about page, which fine, right? I noticed it myself, but it confirmed that that was missing. But then I noticed that there were some other like paths that I didn't test as well. So look into the statistic here. You can see that there were 4 flows missing and 1 page, which is the about page, and 5 actions. So I have an option to generate test cases to close the gap, and I did. So I already like generated 4 test cases to use all of these flows to convert them into my automated test cases, and I executed those test cases, like 4 test cases from production environment, and then on my staging environment. And I created another map on the staging environment to see.
My just one comment, just based on the questions, I felt like I should just jump in. So just to make sure that everybody's clear, so and Mike, correct me here if I'm wrong. So what Mai was showing was a user journey map that represented how real users in the production environment were navigating the cell phone shop demo app, right?
Yeah.
And then she also showed another user journey map that represents how, in this demo scenario, how testers would have tested the cell phone shop in the, let's say, staging environment, right? So now you have, in the staging environment scenario is when you are doing your in-sprint testing, for example. You are, you're receiving builds daily, several times a day, maybe, and you're doing your testing like you always do. So like there's no changes in the way you work, right? You're doing the testing as always. TrueTest now is showing you the map of how you are testing the app, which includes the edge cases, the negative scenarios, the normal expected flows, and so on. And it's also showing, TrueTest is also showing you how the user journey map of the real users in production looks like. And then what Mai did is she asked TrueTest, hey, overlay both to show what I am not testing in my staging environment, but people are actually going through in production, so that we can see what is the gap, like what am I missing as a tester that my users are doing that I'm not testing, right? And that's the part in orange, brownish, depending on your screen. But that's essentially the scenario, right? Because I noticed some questions that about, true test in production will not capture negative scenarios, edge cases, and so on, because users might not do that. True.
Mm.
But you have tested those negative scenarios, those edge cases, and alternate scenarios in your testing environment or staging environment, right? So just wanted to clarify, make sure that everybody was on the same page here and already answered a couple questions there.
Thank you, Alex. It's hard to like do live demo and looking at Q&A at the same time. So thank you very much for the help.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely right, Alex. Like we use TrueTest to combine the best of the both worlds, right? Like requirements-based testing and production usage-based testing. So the users do not use the system as you normally test it, like negative paths or alternative paths, but they have like their own ways of using the system. So that provide like unique insights into what should be tested as part of your just testing process as well. So we kind of combine the two sides, like from the left, requirements-based testing, and from the right, production-based testing, to help you to have the 100% coverage of the both words. So as I mentioned, after identify these gaps from the production usage, like how my actual users using the products versus how I have been testing on my test environment. I convert those missing flows into automated test cases and execute those on my testing environment. And after that, I create a new map to include all the testing activities like my automated test cases created from production usage and my automated test cases from my testing activities. I executed all of them and regenerate the map. And this is the kind of the final map on the staging environment. It covers all the pages like home, about, product category, and so on. And it also covers all the flows if possible. So let me review it again to see if the gaps still persist, right? So I will, again, like look into the production map and look into my latest map on staging. I will analyze the gap again, and I expect to see no gap. So you can see here, no gap whatsoever, because those gaps was closed by me generating test cases from the missing flows on production to execute them on my testing environment. So now I have full coverage from my requirements-based testing versus and my production-based testing as well. So this is no gap. And there is something interesting about the map as the how TrueTest works as well regarding maintenance. So you may question that if all the test cases that I created and most of my application has been stable, right? So whenever TrueTest generates a new map and generate a new set of test cases, would it like override the existing test cases or not? So the TrueTest will be able to automatically recognize the flows, like which parts of the application remain stable in the new map, and mark those as stable. It would it would not make any changes at all to the test cases because those remain stable, right? And if it can detect any new flows, meaning that the flows or the traffic wasn't captured in the previous map, it will highlight those as a new flows here. So imagine that you released a new functionalities to production, and the user starts using those functionalities. Then you can generate a map, and those new flows of new functionalities will show up as a new flows here in the list, and you can create automated test cases to cover the new flows. And for the existing flows, that those related parts of the system are no longer be used, those flows would be marked as obsolete, and you will have a chance to decide if you want to retain the related test cases or not. I didn't retain anything here so that you don't see anything. But for those obsolete flows that you choose to retain them in the system, the status will show here as retained. Yeah, so it's basically the highlighted features of TrueTest. There are other advanced features as well. But now I'm ready to take any questions.
Yeah, so thank you, Mai. I was answering a few here. We answered a few of those live before. Or questions that several people are asking in a more repeated fashion here is,
Mhm.
how is the capturing of those steps or interactions actually happen? Because they
Mhm.
didn't see any plugin, like browser plugin or anything. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that for them?
Sure, of course. So I wonder if you are familiar with the product data analytics tools such as Google Analytics or Full Story. TrueTest works similarly. So it listens to the changes of the DOM structure when your users interact with the pages. So if you click on one button, TrueTest will like notice that there has been a change to the DOM structure and capture that action. So it behaves exactly the same as other product data analytics tools, and it doesn't cause any performance impact to the application under test. And I don't wonder if anyone asked this question, but is anyone curious about like PI data, the sensitive data, whether or not TrueTest will be capturing those? The short answer is that TrueTest will never capture any sensitive data. It will detect PI data automatically. Those information would not be leaving the user browser. And upon receival of those data, TrueTest will have will be scanning the received data again to see if anything remained and clean it up before storing it into our storage. And you have an option to configure which elements the input shouldn't be captured by TrueTest as well.
Yeah, so it's just, and there were a couple of questions there, Mai. So I'm glad you advanced on that. But just to add to what Mai said, it's the same technology as those product analytics tools that your web applications already have, right? So you have, usually people have Google Analytics, Adobe, they have Pendo, Full Story, Mixpanel, and then on the application performance monitoring side, real user monitoring side, like App Dynamics, LogRocket, Dynatrace. It's the same technology, that the same mechanism that captures those user interactions with the UI. And then what we do is different than what the others do, right? So we use that data captured for testing purposes. So there's nothing that you need to install, because there were some other questions also. There's nothing that you need to install on the server, like on the actual server of the application. What you need to do is install or add the JavaScript code snippet into the application. So that's a development team that usually does that, like they already do for these other products that we mentioned. So if, for example, when we're going to talk about TrueTest with somebody that's interested, first thing we do is we go into their website, and we can see, based on the tags there on the dev tools, we can see which of those products they already have. So when we are doing the demo, we basically say, hey, just like you have here, this is the code snippet that we see in your website. You would have one exactly the same like that for TrueTest. So um, it's something that is well known and well accepted in the industry. It's not new technology. It's been around for 10, 15 years, it's proven, fully secured. As Maya was saying, we take extra steps on the security front to make sure that no PII data, no sensitive data is leaving the browsers. So it's not even that we are capturing and then we remove. If it's sensitive, it doesn't leave the browser itself. And then we do lots of extra layers on our side to make sure that what we did receive is free of PII or sensitive data that you don't want TrueTest to see. And that's all automated. You have the option to going into the application itself and telling TrueTest, hey, this portion of the screen or this type of data or that button or this label, whatever, we do not want TrueTest to even know it's there. So that's up to you if you want to do that as well. Um, the other question, Mike, was data-driven testing. I answered on the questions about mobile and API. So just telling everybody here, API is coming next, and then mobile later this year. We're going to be capturing, along with the UI interactions, we're going to be capturing API interactions through the browser, and also then expanding that to the mobile native apps later this year as well. So that's coming. But they're asking about data-driven. Can you data drive the tests that TrueTest generate?
Yeah, of course. For TrueTest test cases, you have an option at the engine level to configure TrueTest to generate test cases in data-driven manners, which means that all the variables of the test cases would be bound to an Excel spreadsheet. So you can basically execute the same test case or multiple set of data on different environment.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Let's see what else here. PII, yeah, PHI, yeah, same thing for PHI. Is TrueTest separate from Katalon Studio, Mike?
So TrueTest is part of the platform, like part of the Katalon platform. So TrueTest needs Katalon Studio to because after you generate test cases from user flows in TrueTest, you'll be using Katalon Studio to review and execute those test cases. So TrueTest is another product inside the Katalon platform. If you buy Katalon Studio, you do not have TrueTest, but you buy TrueTest, you will have some license of Katalon Studios as well to use with it.
Perfect. Okay, let me see. I'm scrolling through the questions. Yes, is TrueTest cloud-based? Yes, it's cloud-based. And later this year, we'll have the option of a private cloud, not on-prem, but a private cloud for specific requirements. And then how does TrueTest handle A/B testing? For example, where there are two variants of the same user journey, 50% see one variant, the remaining see the other variant.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and we thought about it. So when I show you the capability of configure some like section attribute, I will show you. It will be easy. I will show you my screen. Just a second, please.
Well, you set that up, Maya. I want to remind the audience or let them know that there is a poll running right now if they would like to talk to us to see a more detailed demo. I know there is a lot of stuff that are being asked, and because of matter of time, we are having to kind of go fast through them. So if they want to see a deeper demo and see how these may work with your team, please go ahead and click on the poll that we launched. I'm going to leave it open there for a few minutes. Back to you, May.
Thank you. So you can see here for each user section, your development team can configure a variable in each user section. So in your use case about A/B testing, your development team should know what variant of the application they are showing to that specific user, right? So if they can just like set up a user section attribute called like A/B testing plan A, for example, and then they can create different user journey maps for different plans in A/B testing. And that's how you can like separate like different variants of the user journeys in different maps. And then you can like create automated test cases for different variants as well.
Perfect. You see customers. Yeah, so how does TrueTest plug into applications where customers log in separately? Does it capture user behavior across all tenants and roles, or only within a single session?
So I assume that you're talking about like a bigger system that has multiple smaller system integrated together. So it depends on how you want to test those system. If you want to test them as a one big giant application, you can instrument like the same TrueTest code snippet to own the application related together, so that the TrueTest will treat them as just one big application. And I have worked with some customers. They have a different portal for login, and they only have like TrueTest instrumented as part of the application that like the other application after login that can work as well. In that their use case, we instructed them how to set up the login mechanism. Like there is a configuration at TrueTest agent setup so that you can indicate how you log into the system, right? So they can add that method to go into the other portal and navigate into that part. And every login actions are encapsulated into one single TrueTest login script. So and it is customizable whenever you want. So now, however you want to log into your system, you only need to create like one script in Katalon Studio, and then you trigger that script as part of TrueTest test cases. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's see. Oh, can TrueTest handle load testing? For example, simulating 1,000 users performing the same user journey at the same time, and does it then give performance metrics, such as what point does the application under test metrics start dropping?
That's a very good question. So regarding like performance measurement, we are actually working on a feature to do just that. So whenever you generate user journey maps from production usage, TrueTest would be able to highlight to you what areas the application suffering from like performance drop, right? So you will have like performance heat map on top of user journey map as well. But on the other hand, how to use TrueTest test cases for performance test or load test is up to you, because TrueTest, it can help you to generate test cases and generate them in a data-driven format. But how you execute them and where you execute them is up to you. But TrueTest also will help you to monitor performance on like production.
Very good. Thank you, Mai. Running out of questions here. I think between the live answers and the answers that we're giving here, I think we've covered most of them. One that I saw in the chat, I just spotted one in the chat here.
Alex, I want to bring your attention to, there is a very cool question in the Q&A at the moment, if you don't mind. I think that is a very, very interesting topic. And you and I were discussing yesterday isn't the contrast between automation testing and manual testing. Do you mind spending a couple of minutes on that?
Oh, sure. So how effective is automation testing compared to manual testing? Or, oh, you mean the previous one, accessibility?
No.
Yeah.
Actually, here I read it out loud. How effective is automation testing compared to manual testing? And once automation testing is implemented, is manual testing still necessary?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, manual testing, we don't see the need ever going away. The human, as long as I always say, as long as humans are the ones using the application, the humans at some point will have to touch the application to make sure it, at the very least, feels good to be used, right? Obviously, AI is not as mature as everybody thought it would be by now. And manual testing seems to be even more relevant than in the past because of the non-deterministic nature of the applications when you infuse AI into them. So manual testing is obviously something that needs to continue existing, but not for everything that a lot of companies still do. Like, you should automate most of your testing, not a portion of your testing, but most of your testing, because those can be codified either against requirements or against real user traffic. But you have to anchor the automation in one of those to make sure that you can programmatically, using AI now, make sure that those tests run fast. And then use your intelligence, your SME knowledge, your domain knowledge and expertise to do the exploratory testing, to do the edge cases and negative scenarios, alternate scenarios. Think of ways about introducing chaos into the mix, right? Because the more you will have humans and AI agents navigating through the applications, the more crazy things will be, the more weird scenarios you will start seeing happening in production, especially. So you need to make sure you test for those crazy scenarios also. Otherwise, either your human users or your AI agent users will find those hidden corners of the application. So automation is definitely key to enabling you to have the time to do that. And then the other one I thought was accessibility testing. So accessibility in the sense of typical accessibility, the Katalon, we can do that in the Katalon platform for now, not specifically in TrueTest. But yes, if you're with Katalon, you can do that very easily. But what I thought I would tweak that question more is agent accessibility. So one of the things that is coming up in the industry is your website agent accessible, right? AI agent accessible. So that's something that it's emerging. There's no standards yet to be followed or to be validated. But at the very least, with TrueTest, you can absolutely see what agents are doing in your application. You can see where they're getting stuck. You can see what kind of issues they're finding. And then you can test for those in your test environment, UAT environment, staging environment, right? So you can do that very easily, as Mai just showed that in the demo. Then I believe we're out of time. Let me see if we can squeeze one more in. Is it agent don't break whatever? Yeah. So the safeguard. What are the safeguards that exist so that AI generated tests don't break with every small UI change? And how does TrueTest handle false positive and negatives?
Okay, so those are the two questions. So the first one is about like sure that our test cases and test objects are resilient to smaller changes, right? So for our test objects, we have a mechanism to like whenever you create a new user journey map, and TrueTest is about to create new test cases and new flows and test cases and objects. If we look into the existing objects, right, and if it see that the objects are the same, but we have some small changes. For example, the position of the object has been shifted a little bit to the left or to the right. It will automatically update the locators of those objects so that when you execute the test cases again, it will not break those test cases given those small changes. Um, and and then what is the second one? Oh, negative and positive. So true test.
False negatives and false positives. Yeah.
Yeah. So negative like false positive. So it's like just about how resilient the test cases are. Is that what you meant? Or like you meant about like positive flows and negative flows? If it is about false positive in execution, I have
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
yeah, my answer earlier about like how we update on the objects related to smaller changes to make sure that it will not fail unexpectedly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's we're over time here, and I want to be
All right.
respectful of everybody's time. Lucy, I'll pass it on to you. I just want to say one last thing. Thank you, everybody, for the amazing participation and interaction. This feels great to us that are presenting because we feel that it was not just a monologue, right? So really, thank you guys for participating, and I'll pass it on to you, Lucio.
Thank you so much. I want to also remind everyone if that this will be available on demand in katalon.com/webinars. Also, this is the first of multiple webinars that we're going to do around the TrueTest solution. So if you want to learn more about the business value, if you want to learn more about what needs to be to be done for this to be implemented, and what are the best practices for you to make the most of, for your team to make the most out of TrueTest, please continue keeping an eye on the upcoming webinars that we have for the rest of the year. We have a great agenda in the pipeline that we wouldn't want you to miss. So once again, thank you so much, Alex, Mai, for the wonderful presentation. I want to thank the audience also for those who are staying up late. If you answered yes to you want to see a demo, we will not spam you. We're going to get in touch with you, but rest assured we're not going to spam you. So you will hear from us soon. And also, if we did not get to any of the questions that you put in the Q&A, we'll try our best to answer them post-webinar. Once again, thank you for the audience, and have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.